and it makes sense, but I don't think it's correct. 2, 1.
There we go.
Oh.
And we're live.
Refresh.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of my live streams, which I originally planned to do weekly, and it's been over a month since my last one. I'm here with the Junge Fusilier, and we're going to be doing a live stream. We tried to do one as the first episode a while back, and my internet was so bad that it ended up failing, and we just went to Instagram. So, redo, and yeah. Hello, everybody, and hope you guys enjoy the stream.
Yay! I'm excited.
So I'll go ahead and start this out just a little bit with one of the questions that were initially asked in the live chat. Are you going to get started on a World War II German reenactment? And I know you've been started on that, so maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
I started my World War II kit way before I did World War One. Obviously I had to put it on pause once I met my reenactment group. But now that I've finished my kit, I finished this year, but I've been in it for like 2 years. I am now working on the 73rd Infantry, which it's all new to me. I'm trying to do it based off information I'm trying to gather, but apparently was one of the units that was allowed to stay after the Treaty of Versailles. But I don't know that fully yet. I'm trying to do research into it. But I'm hoping to do 1939 to 1941 before they became, they shifted into a Panzer Grenadier unit or something like that. So I'm trying to do that, and I know they exist based off a grave in Hanover, or a memorial or a cenotaph, which is dated 1939 to 45. And I also know it also exists because of a certain famous figure called Ernst Junge, who was a officer from both World War One to World War Two.
Yeah, for me, I'm probably not going to do that ever. I don't know if I'm going to do anything more than World War I German.
Yeah.
As for the German side of things, but
politics behind it as well.
Not even really that. Just I don't want to be stuck with one nation with reenactment. I like.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out what else I want to do, but right now it's just World War I for now.
I want to put like a Boer War or Zulu War kit. Well, not particularly Zulu, because a white person being. There was a photo. There was. Have you seen
that's instantly going to Farb Fest.
Yeah, have you seen? There's like a photo of the like the very farby uniforms on eBay, costumes and all that.
Yeah.
There's like one for Zulu War Soldier, and then you got like this white guy pretending to be a Zulu guy. It looks more like a Maori, which is a New Zealand-based tribe. He's like doing a little funky stance, and he's got like little hay rings tied around his arms and all that, and a little skirt.
That's so bad.
Yeah. It's on FarbFest, I think.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's posted so by awful.
Yeah. British stuff is a bit interesting. I want to do that type of stuff. I know a few. There's a group called the Diehards, who have been to South Africa, I think, or not South. Yeah, around to do like a memorial thing for the I believe it was the 28th Regiment, because that was the regiment they kind of reenact.
Yeah, I've thought about doing British reenacting myself. I think the next thing that I might do is probably going to be either French World War One or Union Civil War.
Yeah,
those would be one or the other one of those. Not too sure though.
Yeah, I kind of got into the American Civil War through Red Dead. I always have like Arthur or John wear like the Civil War cap. Always put that together. I do kind of find this Civil War interesting now. Quite big here. I know it's big over there. I also I also know the Revolutionary War is kind of big over there, but not big over here. You'd think it would be big because it involved the British, but it's not. There'd be like one or two independent reenactors, which just means a guy dressed up, but he's kind of fully accurate, walking about in like Revwar kit, but that's about it.
Well, I don't know if the British want to reenact one of their worst defeats to a colonial nation.
No, no.
You know, it's like I don't know. It's like if
Yeah.
I kind of view it as the same thing as like if a bunch of Americans, you know, I still find it weird that the whole Vietnam War reenactments are getting so popular. I guess that if America had admitted defeat, it'd be even weirder. But
Lots
yeah,
of Farb Fest things on that though.
oh
All
yeah.
over my Instagram sometimes.
Well, what happens is that people will go off and they'll buy original equipment and they'll just wear it and they'll just assume, oh yeah, this is correct. I saw this worn in like what was that movie, Apocalypse Now? That Vietnam
Apocalypse.
movie?
Yeah. We Were Soldiers is a good Vietnam movie.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, my brother at an event who was like younger than me, he got like a uniform that the pilot one. He got like the proper pants as well, but he's not going through with it. I mean, it's probably not entirely accurate. I mean, the helmet is fab and all that, but my little brother, I mean, I can't say anything. Not to him, anyway. But it's still rude to say things about it. But I'm a little annoyed that it kind of sweet, because one of the things that annoys me is that people, when they get one type of kit, they don't focus on it. They just
They
mishmash
just
it
kind
all
of
together.
throw it together a little bit and then they go do another one.
Yeah, like I wanted to do a pilot kit, even though I was working on this. Um, there was like a photo, like, oh, Panzer of the Lake, what is your wisdom? Don't focus on another kit whilst you're trying to finish off your own kit. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a little stupid, and it costs lots of money. It takes a lifetime. Not a lifetime, but it like I said earlier, it took me like 2 years to completely finish my kit, and it's
yeah.
not entirely accurate yet. I need to blacken my bread bag strap and bread bag, and I've had that for about a year. So
I think there's ever going to be a time where I feel like my German kit is complete, no matter how, you know, how good it looks or how, you know, I've still always got more improvement to do,
yeah,
you know.
should we have a look at more questions then on the?
I've got one from the Discord. This was probably the only one that I've seen. Question that I'm actually going to be answering soon in a new video. How to make the M17 gas mask look like the original, and how to darken the skin, paint the edges in black, etc. That's I don't know if you've done that with yours at all.
My M15. I have an M15 gas mask
Gotcha.
or gummy mask. Yeah.
But the M17s are a pain. None of them are made correctly based off the originals or whatnot. For myself, I basically took brown leather dye. I dyed the mask, the outside of the mask, that brown dye, and then I cut those awful leather pieces around the eye. I cut it down so that it's a lot skinnier, more closer to the authentic ones.
Yeah.
And then you can just use black dye around the edges.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is that the gas mask leather feels way different than the leather that you get from reproductions, and this might just be due to aging or just the exposure
Probably.
to gas. But in order to get that feel, you have to use a different type of dye and a sort of type of dubbing, like a snow seal,
Yeah.
to get it proper. I haven't done it myself, so I don't really know the proper way to do it.
I mean, my boots, which are a original pair, I mean, they feel way different when I put my reproduction World War One and obviously World War Two ones. These are more closer to the World War Two ones for some reason, because the way Soldier of Fortune did my dad's boots is the kind of just let it all go rough. You know, it's just raw leather. It's all flaky and all that. And the way I dyed it was very bad. I actually just used lots of shoe polish and I made it so that it actually got stuck to it.
Oh
It was.
god.
I got my arms and my hands, not my arms, and bits of my pants were covered in like shoe polish. That was a wacky day. But
Yeah.
now Yeah. Now I use Dylon, which I used to blacken my boots and some of my other equipment and all that.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky using dye versus polish and whatnot. There's definitely a place for each of them.
Yeah.
I think there was a question earlier about something similar. Um,
How do we dye? Yeah, black.
yeah, he said, I have a question. So he read that the German army used many dyes for their leather. Which one is best in my opinion? So the problem with that is the German army and the German industry had had a lack of standardization. So the items would come to the troops undyed; they'd be brown, and the soldiers were basically it was assumed that the soldier would darken them when they got their equipment. So as reenactors, in order to have the best, most authentic looking piece of equipment, it's best for you to get something that's just the brown leather, like just brown ammo pouches or whatnot, and then dyeing them using basically cheap dyes that'll wear down so that it'll have the look of wear over time. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've done things any differently, but it's basically the lack of standardization
My
helps us.
boots, my boots were originally brown. I think I let me move my chair back. These were originally brown. They're still slightly. There's a color in there, um, but yeah, when I first bought these, and they're original pair as well, they were full brown. Took me a while to dye them, but I guess it's the proper way to do it. But in my reenactment unit's case, is that the equipment was meant to be black from the beginning, so they would have been issued like the proper black pouches. And yeah, I guess if your unit, went, if you want to do like 1916, and it's probably better to do it from brown, and some people don't want to do that. I mean,
Yeah,
that's fine. I mean, in the end, it'll start to look worn once you start using it and all that. But
yeah,
it yeah, if you it's up to the person, it's up to you, it's kind of up to you. um and like you said, lack of standardization. Um there was also a thing I think I was talking about with a few of my mates in my unit, is that the suspenders or trouser braces, um, soldiers were never issued them in the actual army. They would have to buy them on their own. And we were talking about this because there's a pair on eBay I'm looking at called Hercules, which are the proper German ones. I haven't bought a pair yet, obviously because I spent a lot on my new Gavin 98. But um, I mean, I guess it's best if you, as long as if it looks like the ones I have on now, they kind of look like they're from the era. As long as they look from the era and they're not like, let's just say they're not like full on elastic and all that. I guess they'll be fine.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um, it helps with German reenacting when there's a lack of standardization. You can't go off and say, "Oh, that's not the perfect collar because tunics and collars, they've just so many different colors that were used because of so many different dyes from different manufacturers and all that insanity." So it helps
yeah,
in a way. It
yeah,
also makes it so that everyone looks different and
yeah,
whatnot. Um, so when it comes to dyeing stuff, it's like whatever works
yeah.
best for you.
And it's also, you don't need to also use the exact stuff they used. I mean, it's as long as if it looks good and it can blacken it, I'm pretty sure it's fine. And I mean, I
Yeah,
use Dylon, which is it got the job done. And I mean, they look good. My boots look good. I mean, they need polishing once in a while, but it works.
yeah. With mine, I just use the blackening paste, and basically, anytime that I wear them, generally afterwards, I need to reapply it just because it wears down.
Yeah,
But right now, it hasn't really been like that. It just makes it so that they look like they're worn quicker, which is pretty nice.
yeah.
I do see another question in there, a couple more. From One Sauerkraut, where do I get my repo rations? So I got them from a place called reporations.com. Unfortunately, he recently closed down his shop due to him growing too old to continue it. But there are some good resources as to making your own. I'm currently doing a series on how to cook repo rations yourself, from hardtack to herbs first, including VBAC and all that other good stuff. But if you want to buy things that are related to that, you will want to get your own canned flesh, your own canned meat. I think that you can just buy some online pretty easily, get your own custom labels for it.
Yeah, that's what we're doing as well. We would like either buy like an original can, get a repro, stick, like basically that might be an easier way of doing it.
And yeah, for things like
Yeah,
coffee, buy some Folgers. If you're really going in for the whole authentic feel, there's a way to make the ersatz coffee. You basically take ground up coffee beans that are basically ground so fine to become instant coffee, which is how you make instant coffee, and you cut it with, I think, ground up nut. I think it's like walnuts or something. I'll have to double check that. It might be acorns. You just grind it up so much that it's about the same consistency, and you add it in, and it masks the lack of there being any coffee. So you can make your own ration coffee and all that good stuff.
yeah. Recently, I finished Blackadder. I think this morning, and there was a joke about how they run out of coffee about 3 months ago, and they've been using like dandruff for sugar and spit for saliva, spit for milk, which is pretty funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting reading about how difficult getting stuff to the front was in terms of food and rations and all that.
Yeah.
So even not only just for the Germans who had trouble with logistics from the onset, but also the British and the French. So yeah.
Right now, I've run out of a few drinks. I mean, I've gone through both of my mugs. I had Coke in one and Sprite in the other, just because I know how like long these are. I'm gonna be very thirsty. I get very thirsty. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We're probably only going to go for about an hour total.
That's fine.
Because I've got some stuff going on afterward.
Yeah. I remember I was in this Hearts of Iron 4 tournament. I mean, I got kicked because I was lagging, but the live stream went on for about 7 hours, so I think I got off lucky. I think that sleep was well deserved. Even though, I mean, I reformed the German Empire. I think that's enough in that game. I did it in.
Anytime you reform it, it's enough.
It's perfect. Yeah, I did it recently. I got up to 1953, and now I'm in a war against the Russian Federation because I staged a coup there, and against all of every country. It's World War I again, except I've got a lot more countries in the Central Powers.
Perfect.
And Austria-Hungary's back. Everyone's here, and we got nukes.
Everyone's here. Everyone's happy.
Yeah.
But we have panzers and we have nukes.
Yeah. I mean, they nuked Alsace-Lorraine, but who cares? It's not my country. It's not mine. It's France.
It's technically French, you know.
They did take my Chinese colony, Sing Sao. Probably butchered that, and took one of my nuclear reactors with it. But I still have 8.
You just gotta melt it down.
7. They took Greenland from me.
Those bastards.
But my main goal was just to defeat the Soviet Union, and I finally did it. Only because I had the help of literally everyone in the fucking world. Yeah. Do you have any more questions, anyway?
Oh, I think that there's one more that's going to be a quick little guy. Would there be a way to make your own repro gas mask from MD films? There are some people who do that in a couple groups I'm part of, but it takes a lot of work, and you have to buy a repro gas mask and then customize it, or you have to know what you're doing with metalworking and leatherworking and all that.
Yeah, and you also need to make a filter as well.
Yeah, you can buy your own filters because they're not too inaccurate, but most gas masks are pretty bad.
Yeah, my gas mask I showed you earlier, it was too big, and the canister and all that was all crap. But I got it all done up, and I got lucky because the color I'm pretty sure is the right, because some of them are like dirt brown or like field, kind of like a really sickly coloured field grey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a couple colors for the M15s. They're one of the rarest gas masks from the war, so it's really difficult to get a good gauge on what they really look like.
I need your punch down. I'm so sorry.
All right, just 1 second.
Sorry.
You're good. You know what now?
Punch down. We're setting up the system.
Oh, my punch tool. I don't have it.
It's not in your car.
No, it's at the creek.
So guys, I'm gonna be taking the stream from here. Oh damn it! I was gonna take the stream from here.
Just get my headphone back in. Oh, gotta. There we go. Got to get some hotkeys to pause my screen if in the future.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
That's what happens.
I mean, I ask everyone in my family just not to enter my room at all.
Oh no, they
No.
were asking for something of mine
Yeah.
that they needed.
If it's dead important, then
It's like if the house is on fire, then knock.
But I'm in a live stream.
It's like, knock on the door, please. You know,
Even though my house is on fire.
I can smell the smoke. Please,
just knock on the door first.
40 more minutes, okay?
House is literally just crumbling around me.
It's that this is fine meme. You're just like, this is fine.
This is okay. Fine. Yeah. No more questions then. Is it just smooth sailing from here? It's quite
Seems
sad.
like it, yeah. Yeah, should be. You mentioned that your dad does reenacting. Did he get you into the hobby, or did you drag him into it?
My dad is in the hobby. I dragged him into it because I'm underage supervision. I'm an exception to the rule. That when I become 16, I am the end of the exception. But I was only really allowed into my unit because I had an extreme interest and I had an extreme amount of knowledge, and I was kind of seen as a potential way of driving recruitment as well. And I kind of have, and all that. Sometimes though, when I find people who are interested in the hobby, they're normally into the pioneer stuff because of the flamethrower and the MP18, and I get that. But the flamethrower wasn't issued to every pioneer; it was issued to like a specific guard regiment and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about the flamethrower. But I understand it. It's epic.
About the Flammenwerfer. It's interesting how overblown some of those things are. Like the trench gun, the trench shotgun, the MP18, the flamethrower. It's like those were used so like in so small numbers that they made such a limited impact on the overall battle.
One of the main things do you know how to like hold the MP18? Because I think I was about to say this earlier, but there's a certain way of holding it that a lot of people probably don't know how to, because how would you think you would normally hold it?
My guess would be you have the buttstock in your shoulder, and you hold that wooden piece up front, and you have your hand right back here.
It's actually like this. You'd hold it like that.
Yeah. Because you don't want to grab where the magazine goes into the gun, because that heats up too much and you risk bending the magazine and causing jamming.
No, they do hold the magazine. It's kind of a weird way because most people think it's like the stock or like that, but it's actually from underneath. I believe it was because either the magazine was kind of like jittery or because it was kind of like because the drum mag and all that.
Oh, probably to support the extra weight because the drum
Yeah,
mag was a lot heavier than a box mag,
yeah,
which would make sense. I know that with box magazines, you don't want to like hold them by
yeah,
that because you'll cause jamming.
yeah. I don't
Um,
know if box magazines though were kind of they weren't the main magazine for the MP18. I think it was mostly just the
the
drummer.
the MP18 was actually first initially designed to use a box magazine,
Yeah,
and it was changed when it started to go into production because the snail magazines were what were common, and they held about
yeah,
the same amount of ammunition. But after the war, production switched back to the box mag, and in
yeah.
fact,
Like
a lot of MP18s which were made for the snail mag got converted to accept the box magazine, which is why the
yeah,
ones that accept the snail magazine are so rare, because they were not only produced in limited numbers, but they were also later converted to the box mag type. So
yeah, and most of them, I believe, they're mostly referred to the box magazines like the MP24, isn't it? Because that's
yeah,
and also it has like adjustments on the muzzle and the barrel and all that.
I can't
Which
tell you how many times my airsoft MP18 gets called, oh, that's an MP25 or MP whatever, and I'm like, no, it's an
28.
MP18,
I
and they're like, no,
can
it's not an MP18, it has a box mag. I'm like, well, let me teach you a little bit about history, dude.
yeah.
But
MP34s are also a bit and mostly I think the way there is like the magazines on this side, and you know, I don't think I can actually see. I've never seen a left-handed. I might be crazy actually. I don't know. I'm gonna make
yeah, with
myself look
the
ridiculous on the. Yeah.
but yeah, I actually ended up getting into a full blown argument with someone about it. It was just like he's like calling it like that's not an MP18, that's da 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 da. I'm like, well, it is. Sorry to burst your bubble, but it is an MP18. He's like, oh, but the MP18s only use snail mags. It's like, well, they were originally designed for the box magazine. They used snail mag during the war, and then after the war, they were produced with the box magazine again. And he's
I
like, well,
I
yeah, post-war version was MP20, whatever. I was like, well, no, MP that model of the MP had a different sight and had a completely different configuration. They looked aesthetically similar, but they had different
the
things on
barrel and
them. You know, they had different sight
yeah,
adjustment and all this other stuff. Whereas the MP18 still had the original flip sights with the original, bolt action, the original bolt that was originally designed with it, and they were produced after the war. And
yeah.
he just wouldn't budge. And I showed him pictures, and I showed him articles, and I showed him blueprints, and he still was like, "Nope, that's you're fabricating this." I'm like, "What? How? How?"
How? I mean, I mean, it's kind of. I got called racist by a classmate because I bought I don't know where I put it. I think I put it in here. Oh, in here. No, I forgot where I put it. I bought an original Iron Cross 1939 clasp, and I got called racist because apparently I bought it just to show off. But I'm obviously, by the look of the background, I have an extensive collection of loads of things. I'm possibly known as a hoarder, and my room's probably a fire hazard because of the amount of hats I have and all that, and wool,
All the wool.
all the wool.
The sun shines through the window at just the right angle, and your whole room just ignites.
Oh shit, it's on fire. Yeah, I've got a massive flag on the wall as well. This is
Yeah.
I think I've posted on my story. I got like 1980 Owen's poster up that I commissioned on my wall. Like, so it was the first time I actually used my printer. That was the first thing I printed, I think, or it might have been this thing up here, Storm of Steel. But yeah, I'm actually quite happy with that poster he did. It's pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah. It is a lot of good artwork.
yeah. Is he in? Is he in the chat?
I
Yes,
think
you in the
so.
back. Hopefully he is.
I
I
saw him.
commend
He
him.
was the first comment at the very top.
Is it?
But I
He's
haven't
still
seen
here.
him elsewhere. I don't
Yep.
know.
If you're still in here, please leave a message.
After the
You are
tone.
you are great. Yeah.
While we go and continue the live stream, if anyone else has any more has any other questions or anything, feel free to ask. We'll answer them as the live
Ask.
stream goes on. ask away.
Just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
How many people are?
Currently got about 7 people, 7 randos watching a couple crazies talk.
Talk about reenacting.
Yeah,
Reenacting.
I think I mentioned this before, but
Have I ever
the
been
amount of toxicity can get overwhelming sometimes.
in reenacting? Yes.
Oh yeah.
Most of the time, some people just come up for a piss up in a uniform and all that. You know, like dress up as an SS person just for the free drinks. Thanks for your service as a German officer.
I actually was I was going because when I used to go on night hikes a lot, I'd wear my full uniform because it was in the winter. The nights would get kind of chilled, and it was breaking in my new tunic, my new boots, or whatnot, and I'd wear a lot of my equipment with me. Well, before one of these night hikes, we actually went into a local store, and so I was in full gear going to the store. You know, I had my low boots on with my putties. I had my belt kit on with the bread bag straps and all the other good stuff, right? The only thing I was missing is I didn't have my stall helm. I had my feld boots on. And I had a kid approach me. He must have been like 16, 17, so a little older than you. And he approaches me and goes, "Thank you for your service."
But not smarter than me.
Completely seriously. And I just kind of chuckled. I was just like, huh? Okay. And I just kind of keep going on. I'm like, how?
Not
How
smarter than me, though.
Like, I hope that you were being, that kid was just joking around, but like, he was nervous. There was no smile. He looked serious. So either he was just pulling off an amazing
Thanks
troll,
for your service.
or he was being serious and was just being.
People may be older than me, but can you outsmart me?
Exactly.
Debate me. A guy debated me on my Mauser, saying no, the reason why they changed the sights was because of their new cartridge. I was like, no, changed the sights because it wasn't used for the military anymore. It was kind of because the German military sights round about then was the roller coaster sights or Langvisieren. That's why I said earlier that my new Gewehr 98 was made in Berlin under the supervision of Mauser, because they would make the guns for like Peru and all that. But this gun had roller coaster sights on, meaning it was made for the German army.
Yeah.
But he kept going on. It was about the cartridge. They changed the sights because it would kind of it was all.
That doesn't make any sense, because when the Mauser gun was produced, when the Gewehr 98 was produced, the German army wanted it with the roller coaster sights for whatever reason, whereas all the other nations just used the typical iron sights that the Mauser post-war and the Kar 98 uses because they were better.
How do I become less? Someone's posted a question: how to become less of a farb? I might have seen your kit. I don't know if you're the one with the Y straps on, but I know they're uncomfortable, and I know when I'm putting them on, I get extremely frustrated, and I think I've punched the wall once because of how annoying it is to put them on. But trust me, once you get them on, everything goes away. It's definitely annoying when you have the shovel on, because that's like the most heaviest thing, and it all like slides off when you're putting it on.
Getting your belt kit on is one of the most difficult things to do. It takes it takes a couple people.
Do it on the floor. That is the main thing. Try and slide it on the floor.
I've never done that. I've never even thought about doing that. I'll have to try that next time.
Because I normally, when I first did, I was like trying to like hold it up, like holding it on the thing, because I don't like doing my stuff on the floor. It's all new stuff to me. I don't want to like lie down in the grass in my tunic sometimes, because I'm afraid it's going to get dirty. But I've got to realise that no, it's going to like crumble off in like 5 seconds, and it's not inaccurate and all that.
But to answer the question, how to stop being a farb, my best advice is research. Don't be afraid to ask questions and ask for critique. And when someone goes off and critiques you in a manner that is less than kind, and they are kind of an asshole about it, don't take that serious. Don't take that to heart. Just brush it off, because people are toxic. And the last thing is, don't ever assume any part of your kit is perfect. Always assume your kit is wrong, because farb is a mindset. It is a mindset that your kit is perfect, or that a part of your kit is perfect, and that when you get corrected on it, you fight back.
Never
Now,
respond to the try to avoid responding to the. That's
only thing you should respond to critique with is thank you. You're going to get critique that is completely wrong, and that's going to happen, and you need to filter that out. I was told that my flask that I use was inaccurate, that I need to get a better reproduction. The only problem is that my flask is an authentic one from the war.
So they're wrong.
So they're wrong. But, I basically said, well, it's an original. So, in some cases like that, it's good to let them know that, hey, this is actually an original, so it's accurate. I've been told things like that. I've been told I need to repaint my belt buckle because it's the wrong color, but my belt buckle is original, so it is the right color. So it's hard to discern the bad advice from the good advice if you're new to the hobby. Yeah. So just take all the advice in, sift through it, double check, triple check, and
listen to your group as well. That's like one of the main points.
Yep.
If you're in a group, listen to them, follow the kit advice. If you don't necessarily agree with the kit advice, like you're confused, I would say, like my dad was at a crossroads because some people were telling him to buy from Nestoff, some people were telling him like Hessen and all that, and Schuster's, and they're like all different colours. He decided to buy from History Bunker. It's not too bad. It's not like fully crap, but it's going to take a lot of work for me and him to get through with it.
Yeah.
However, I can't excuse it, but I can also understand that, he was kind of at this crossroads because of how many different manufacturers. And at the end of the day, the point he said is that a lot of things in reenactment are going to be made in other countries and not fully accurate and all that. Yeah, I kind of agree with him, but History Bunker is like one of the top 5 companies in the world. Museum quality, not really. More like background extra quality that you never see.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah.
The fact that they have Y straps on their examples is just kills me.
Yeah.
And I think I figured out where that stereotype comes from. I think I've been able to pinpoint it. I'm not too sure why they thought that it was correct, but I think I've been able to pinpoint the source, and that's the 1970s All Quiet on the Western Front.
Oh yeah.
If you watch that movie, they're all wearing black Y straps.
Yeah.
All of them. And I think that's where that whole misstereotype comes from. Sabaton has that whole great choir that goes along with them on tour in Europe. They have German soldiers. They have people dressed up as German soldiers in the back in black Y straps. And I'm pretty sure that just comes from the misconception from the 1970s All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yeah.
So
which isn't of wholly unholy inaccurate movie, but it's definitely done. When you see a movie, some of that kit is just there to see and all that. It's not 100% accurate. And there's going to be this one guy who says Y straps are accurate. He's not necessarily wrong. They're probably, I think it was a cavalry regiment, I think. I don't know which regiment it was, but there was a certain regiment in World War I that did have Y straps, but not everyone else.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Tornisters have the straps, and I know a few people have gotten confused with there. Maybe that's probably a thing as well. They haven't seen the Tornister, and they just see the...
Yeah. And they just see those, and they just make the assumption. Yeah. There's also the thing where the Y straps were used for cavalry, and when cavalry stopped being cavalry, they just became dismounted troops, but they kept their equipment. And then there was a stormtrooper unit that used Y straps as well, and other people who would private purchase them from people who didn't want them anymore and use them themselves because they liked the way it supported their equipment better. Machine gunners, some machine gunners were known to use them because it helped support the insane amount of equipment they needed to put on their belt.
Yeah.
But I touched up on this in one of my first videos on my reenactment
YouTube
series.
Channel. Yeah.
About how we as reenactors reenact the standard and not the exception. And not just the standard of the German army, but the standard of your regiment that you particularly
Yeah,
represented.
it's like my regiment's full on black, so there's no excuse. You can't just have a brown belt in
Yeah.
1914, even though that was kind of like the thing. This
You might
entire
be able
regiment.
to get away with a brown piece of equipment later in the war, as the leather equipment deteriorated and the leather equipment was getting sent to the front browned, not blackened, even to the guard regiments. But if you're doing early war impression as that guard regiment, you're going to have to use it black.
Yeah, I mean there is an exception, like our dog tag strap, our dog tags.
Yeah.
They're going to stay brown because that's kind of like the natural thing. I see another question in as well. Do you know of any? And also, thank you for the compliment. These buttons were provided by a friend, and my Feldmutz is a kind. I don't know if it's original or not, but it was used in a movie, I think.
Do we know of any World War I groups here in Colorado?
I don't. I'm not American. I'm British.
I'm from California, so I don't really know the groups in Colorado. Here in Southern California, there's supposedly a reenactment group that has some World War I stuff, and up in Washington, there's a group.
Isn't that like the what's it called? I think I know the Washington one. I can't put my name. I can't put my.
Yeah, I don't know the name either, but they had a website, but it's been long dead. But yeah, as for reenactment groups in Colorado, you just have to go off and look around, join some forums, do some digging, or just make your own. It's really hard to find reenactment groups for World War I stuff.
Yeah.
It's extremely difficult, and that's kind of why I help.
It's coming back though.
Yeah, it is, thanks to like stuff like Battlefield 1 and all that.
And Battlefield 5 being a sucky ass game.
Oh yeah. And Verdun and all those other games.
Oh, Verdun is amazing. Perfect.
What I find interesting with people's perception on the First World War is just how much different pieces of pop culture or just different books will heavily influence perception of said war. Things like.
I mean, you recognize this, don't you? Because it's a famous image. This.
Hang on one second. I cropped your screen, so I'm gonna go ahead and. Yep. Just boop.
Your country needs you. Famous photo of Lord Kitchener. And everyone recognises this because it's universally it's like a universal call to arms. Essentially, it was popularised by World War One and obviously Battlefield 1 as well. Came back, and also because of the centenary, there's like an iron ingot with it you put on it and all that, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
I could get one. I might get one. I don't know.
But it's just been interesting with the misconceptions that have come out of pop culture and all that, and the different movies and the different, all that stuff. Like, oh, that was super common. They did all that, and it was like, no.
MP18 was epic common. All stormtroopers had there's like K98 AZs and all that, and KV98s. A lot of people think all stormtroopers were issued with K98 AZs. Not necessarily. It was more of an artillery and cavalry weapon.
Yeah.
Because it's for cavalry, it's literally just like it's not like a slap. You've got to like keep control of your horse, and artillery, it's kind of like a.
With the cavalry, you need to have a short weapon too, because you can't have a long rifle. You have to have a short carbine.
Yeah, and it also means artillery that don't carry much as well, if you think about it, because of how long. It's a lot more weight, and stormtroopers probably did use a few. I mean, I'm not denying that, but I see a lot of impressions with it. I see a lot of impressions kind of. I know a lot of people go for stormtrooper because there's a misconception they used flamethrowers and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a pioneer weapon mostly.
Yeah.
It was very specific to certain units.
What age would you consider the minimum for World War One reenactment? I was 13 when I started the hobby. I would say the minimum age is 16, but I got off because I was dedicated to history. I was incredibly interested and I knew my knowledge on it. So if you find a group that they're impressed by your knowledge and you know a lot of stuff, you know how, like, I answered a bunch of questions. You know, what was like, let's go. Like, what does the tress mean? Oh, you got tress. You're probably an NCO. What does this little disc here on my collar mean? Gefreiter or Feldwebel, because Feldwebels and Gefreiters kind of shared the same disc. Only exception for Feldwebel is they had like tress as well. What's this little stripe here? What does that mean? Well, I didn't know the answer to that, but I gave it a guess. But it means they're a capitulant, which means they're over 50 or a certain age. They're basically giving up their kind of life to go to war. Essentially, they're old and all that. You've got to know your stuff as well. You've got to impress them. You've got to make an impression. They've got to understand if it's worth it, or they have to wait until you're 16 or something like that. Again, as I said, I was the exception because of the particular knowledge I had, and because kind of some of the World War One stuff is kind of carried over to World War Two. I would say, like the tress and all that. Not everything, like the wise traps.
Yeah, the wise traps were used in World War II, not really World War One.
Yeah.
So, something I find interesting is how often people quote from All Quiet on the Western Front to talk about the experience of World War One on the German side. That's something that I've always like found confusing and a little bit like odd, because the dude who wrote it, he spent very little time actually fighting. He was at the front for like a month, and then he got injured and spent the rest of his time at a hospital, and then was sent back.
And it was kind of anti-war as well, and it was.
Yeah, well, it's not really that bothered me. It's like the book's
everyone's
great.
like,
I've read the book, and it's an amazing book, but trying to use it as a reference point for what the war was like when it was written by someone who only took inspiration from his own experiences, which were next to none in the trenches. It's like, you don't want to look at that book. Look at Storm of Steel. Look at,
exactly
Magnificent but Not War. Look at, I've got a book written by I've got a book that was published in 1916, and it is a compilation of diaries and poems of an American who enlisted in the French army and went over to fight and was killed after about a year and a half. And all his diaries and poems came back to the States and were published in a book, and it's one of the things that helped swing public opinion from supporting towards supporting the Entente. I have a book, one of the books that was published in 1916. It's not like a recent republish. It is one of the original publications.
Yeah.
Get your information from that. Don't get it from a book that was written from someone who barely served. Yeah. That's just a bad source.
Storm of Steel, I'm going to be very biased because he's from the 73rd, very epic book. I want to buy it. I haven't read it.
I've about finished it. I'm slowly reading it.
Yeah, it's like quotes from, like, I jumped into the trench, shot this man in the eye. It's like really vivid detail. Like, I landed in this trench hole, this pothole, or not pothole. You can't land in a pothole. Like a shell hole, and there's like a dead body who's been like dug into the ground because of like the shelling and all that stuff like that. I haven't read All Quiet on the Western Front, but I don't think it's exactly like that.
It's just so All Quiet on the Western Front to me is a good book. It's a great piece of literature, but the way that it is able to express the feeling of the war is one that is inadequate. It's just not. It doesn't capture it. It captures what your feelings would be if you only spent like a month at the front.
Yeah.
Whereas Ernst Jünger does a very good job describing what it's like to be under artillery bombardment. He describes gas attacks very well. He describes the pure intensity of a night raid on British lines and getting separated from your group and having to crawl back to your own lines and getting disoriented and hoping that you've actually found your lines and having to say certain words that mean the same thing and that sound the same in German as they do in English, and hoping for a German response.
Yeah.
You have these insane scenes that are so well done. And All Quiet on the Western Front, it's like
Has a
I
movie on it. Storm of
it's
Steel doesn't.
yeah, but All Quiet on the Western Front, there's literal parts where the descriptions are pretty slim, and it's like I was running from one dugout to deliver a message, and in the time it took me to get from that dugout to the dugout I was supposed to deliver a message to, that dugout had been struck by an artillery shell. So I went back to the previous dugout, and that dugout had been struck by an artillery shell. I haven't read the book in a while, but I feel like that's a pretty
Yeah.
accurate quote as to how it was described. Like, there's no feeling of urgency or like realism or being there. It's just this dude. It sounds like what he wrote was he heard a story from a veteran and put that in the book. That's what it feels like, and it's just
Stuff.
it's just so bad.
Stuff going on in the Discord about World War One because no one really knew what worked. I don't understand that. All Quiet on the Western Front wasn't his spiders made from notes and diaries of wounded soldiers from the same hospital.
I've actually never heard that. The way that it was, the way that I've read it in both the forward to the book that I read, and both looking up on the Wikipedia, not really the Wikipedia page, but like looking on my copy of the book and what I've read into the book, it was completely fiction, is what I've heard about it. Now, I haven't done too much research into the book, but that's what I've read up on, and that he didn't do that. So I'd be curious as to what the where that came from. In fact, I could.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Surprised no one's asked me why I have a cuff title. I thought better of you guys. Ask me questions on the cuff title, please. Have you read Erwin Rommel's book? It was the infantry tactics thing. There's also a joke in that General Patton movie where he quotes where he says, "Rommel, you magnificent bastard, I read your book." It's pretty funny. Yeah. I also got asked today by an Instagram follower what Blackadder was, or if it was like Mr. Bean. I was like, no, it's a revisionist comedy of history, essentially. Still funny. Like General Douglas Haig doing the same plan over and over again, march straight at the German machine guns and get slaughtered. But no, I haven't read Erwin Rommel's book.
I haven't either. I've got a long list of books I need to read.
I have a big book. I have the biggest book, and it is only my. Oh, there's the Iron Cross. This is the little box I have my Iron Cross in. Let me just.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, let me just get my big boy book. Big boy book. Big boy book. Oh, it's so heavy. Big boy book. For big boys.
Here, let me go get my own. Hang on one second. Well, actually, that book right there, the one with the yellow on it.
I can slightly see it.
Yeah. Back in the Pandora's Box.
Thick.
A History of the First World War. It's a massive book, but it's insane. The section for just the sources is about this thick of pages. It's absolutely insane.
Let's read this question. What is your favourite World War I German uniform to wear? My Feldrock, which is the M190710, because we get the sleek cuff buttons and the sleek red piping. However, I do have a 99% chance of getting spotted by a sniper in like 5 seconds. But I look sexy.
Go out. You got to die in style. You got to go out in style.
Yeah.
We are dressed in our best and prepared to go down like gentlemen.
I'm willing to teach your viewers how to do German drill. Do you want me to do that? I'll do it. I've got my rifles. You get to look at my sexy British flag chair. It's just. This is my rifle. This is my gun. It's essentially similar to World War II drill. and then you bring it down, and then Presente d'Escavir. I'm pretty sure it's just up above sights, I mean like that. So that's Presente d'Escavir, d'Escavir Uber. It's gonna be like that, and d'Escavir up is down. There you go. And Laden is load. I can never not hold or aim my rifle without looking ridiculous because my cuffs go over my hands. There's like photos of me with just with like my cuffs like right over my hands. And I'm like aiming my rifle like that.
So
Those
it's like
ones
the
of-
uniform. The uniform just melds with the gun.
Yeah, let's do a thing. One gun's heavier than the other because one's got like a massive weld down it. Bang bang.
You're going Rambo style there.
Yeah, machine gun. Whoa. There we go. There we go. I did a ridiculous squat then. I mean, I'm pretty sure I can use this my Mauser 98, sorry, as like a what you call it, a dumbbell, because it's so heavy.
Just doing, getting strong for the German military.
Yeah, just
for das Kaiser.
Buffing up. Yeah. This I'm actually really happy I got this though. 675 quid. A lot of money, but not too bad. I mean, I can't dry fire it, but it's pretty good and it's original. And that's all I need. Me and my
That's all
gun.
anyone needs. So to go back to the whole thing on, I don't want to change subjects too much, but to go back to All Quiet on the Western Front, I did do a tiny bit of research, not too much just now, reading into Wikipedia and looking up, seeing if it was true or not. Can't find anything saying he took inspiration from stories at hospitals. I wouldn't doubt it if he did, but yeah, I still think that it's just a awful representation of what the war was really like, and I'll stand by that statement.
What's your chances of seeing German soldiers with jack boots in 1918? So leather marching boots.
Second to none.
They would, if it was like, let's say, a guy from the early war was still alive. Well, probably there would be. Obviously, there would be some. They would have. So there's a likely chance they would have still been wearing this and all that. Some people in 1918 would have still been issued the 1910 because producers would have still had this tunic like readily available and all that, and I would have issued it. Jack boots, you would have seen a few, but they wouldn't have been produced as much as the low boots because it saves leather.
Well, something interesting is jackboot production actually completely stopped in about mid to late 1917. They just stopped making jackboots completely. There was no more production of them due to leather shortages. Yeah. The other thing is that jackboots, the soldiers' boots in general, they only lasted about 6 to 8 months in the trenches before finally getting destroyed and needing to be replaced. So by 1918, specifically by October 1918, if you had a pair of jackboots, you were not a frontline soldier, or you were not supposed to be a frontline soldier.
Yeah.
Because your boots are not being worn at all. So
yeah. But
seeing jackboots in late 1918, there are examples of it. They're just far and few between, and wearing jackboots with a late war stormtrooper uniform is definitely the historical exception and not the historical rule which you do want to portray. It sucks. I hate putting on putties and wearing low boots. It's so uncomfortable and so difficult to put on, but if I'm portraying late war, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. And obviously there is also nothing wrong with wearing jack boots late war as well. But like you said, far and few between. Not as common as low boots, because low boots kind of being phased in, and jack boots, they got phased out and then they got brought back around the Second World War, but then they got shortened and then eventually got replaced with low boots again and gaiters instead of putties.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. There's in the pictures of the 17th, there's actually a few images of the officers of the regiment wearing gaiters instead of puttees,
Yeah.
like the really big ones that go up to nearly your knee.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. A few people in my unit, I think if one guy's looking for a pair for his under-officer because he's that rank.
Hessen Antique sells a few, and they're not
Yeah,
too
but
bad quality.
not his size.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think his
Oh.
size. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I shouldn't be speaking for him.
Yeah. Well, I know Hessen Antique has a pretty bad reputation, so.
Has anyone ever called you a Nazi in your World War One uniform? No, I got
Yes.
saluted.
Yes,
I got saluted though.
I've been called a Nazi many times in this uniform.
It was
Multiple
it an
times.
insult? An insult or like a question or?
No, like literally, unironically, upset, calling me a Nazi because I was wearing this uniform.
I got
Like
saluted.
in person to my face. It was one of the weirdest things. It's like, well, okay,
You're a Nazi.
that's completely wrong because this is World War One, and they're like, no, but you're a Nazi because you're wearing that. It's like, but this is World War One. It's like, I know. It's like, Jesus Christ.
I got the salute. Stay down.
I've had that salute, ironically, done to me multiple times. A lot when I went out trick or treating last year with my younger brother, just sort of as chaperone. I had a lot of people do the whole 88 salute. So
yeah, I mean,
but they were all making jokes and stuff. No one really cared too much.
I think
there was one person. But.
It was actually when I went to watch 1917 at cinema, and they said, "You off to war then, boy?" It was like, "No, which war are you fighting for? Which country are you fighting for? The Germans." Like tries to do the clicking of the boots. He doesn't have like the little metal things, and he just like, I was like, "Wrong war."
Yeah.
My dad just turned to me and said, "Wrong war, not that one."
Yeah, when I went to see 1917 with my buddies, and we all did, myself, Schutzen, and my brother, we all wore uniforms. We had a couple of people ask what our uniforms were from, what country. We had a couple of people ask if we were World War II and why we were seeing 1917 in World War II uniform. But the majority of people knew exactly what we were wearing. And we actually, as we left the theater, we were getting to our cars, and we had one dude running. Like, he had literally run. We parked maybe a whole 100 yards, so about 100 meters from the theater.
Yeah.
This dude had booked it from the theater after we had reached our cars to catch up to us before we left because he wanted to get a picture of us. And like he said, just wait here. I want to get a picture with you guys. My friend's coming. I just needed to stop you guys from leaving. And I guess it was like a last second thing that he had thought of, and it was like, okay, I don't really care, whatever. That's.
I think I saw on Instagram though, like your post, because someone put like, "Is this cringe to go in uniform?"
Yeah.
What did you? I was going to ask what did you think of that though? Because I thought it was kind of.
I think like there's a difference between you can do something that's cringe, knowing it's cringe, but still have a good time. And that's kind of how I looked at it. It's like, is it cringe? Yeah. Probably. I'm going to go see a movie about war, about how World War I was terrible in my World War I uniform.
Yeah.
But like, sure, you can see that as cringe, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool. I've got the uniform. I'm gonna go do it. Who cares?
Yeah.
It's a movie. And there were about halfway through the film, at that particular scene at the barn, I was just kind of doing this. I was like, oh boy. Because it was like, this is getting really, I was like looking around like, okay. Because most people in the theater we were watching with, we had talked to before going in because they saw us in our uniforms. Yeah. But yeah, it was definitely at a point where I was like, now I'm just uncomfortable. Because not because I was wearing a German uniform, but because I was,
it's warm,
wearing a World War I uniform, and it was like, whatnot.
I was going to say because it was warm and hot in there. You're in World
War II. No. At that barnyard scene with the airplane
when he comes in and he, spoiler alert, are we alright with me saying it? We all know what happens, don't we?
Well, if anyone doesn't know what happens, they can leave. We'll give them 5 seconds. If you haven't watched the movie yet, you're not a true World War I fanboy.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of the guys gets stabbed.
Yeah.
I gave you that chance.
Lieutenant Blake. I'm just going to give the name out because no punches. But yeah, after that, I was just kind of like, okay, removing the helmet, like. Not because I'm wearing a German uniform and a German kills the dude, but because it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, this turned to war as hell real quick, and now I'm just uncomfortable wearing this uniform in the theater just because it's World War One.
There was a scene that kind of annoyed a few people or reenactors. There's like the scene where the Germans running and shooting, which would kind of be difficult. You've got a bolt action rifle, long ass rifle, running, bang.
I've run and shot my Gavir 98 while running. It's if you're firing from the hip, even in my video with my Gavir 98 where I'm shooting, I'm holding it up to my face, aiming the entire time right through the iron sights and keeping it on target, walking and shooting the rifle.
Oh, it's live, right?
What?
It's live, right?
Live real rounds, yeah. No.
Epic.
Nothing held back there, and I was in my full uniform. I had the same weight as a normal soldier would be carrying, and I had no issues. So running and firing from the hip, German soldiers were witnessed doing that during the war, specifically when the Germans first met the British Army during the initial invasion, when they met the BEF. In fact, one of the reasons why they stopped firing from the hip is because they realized firing on the hip was a bad thing to do accuracy-wise, but then towards the later end of the war, 1917, they re-implemented it. So firing from the hip was something German soldiers knew how to do and would do if necessary. And if you have a German soldier who isn't fully there mentally, aka he's the rear guard troop who's a reservist and is probably getting drunk off the local beer, he's going to be firing from the hip with really bad aim.
Yeah.
The problem I had with the movie was the sniper. The sniper was awful. I don't care what you say, reservist or not. He's a sharpshooter. He should have knocked out Lieutenant Schofield on that bridge. That was such an easy shot, and he missed him by such a far distance. And I'm making a video about that. So
make it.
I'm just waiting for now. I've got it. There's a couple other things I'm waiting on before I finish it, and I can't do anything with spoilers and all that.
Well, I've been trying to sort my room out and been waiting for a suit. If you can see the blue blob thing there, that's my 1904 jacket. It's not like a so-called suit, but it's just like a remade based off of a 1904 suit. But I'm going to be wearing that in videos sometimes because I look smart.
Something interesting is that the 17th Infantry Regiment, not the reserve one, the 17th Infantry Regiment, the Westphalian Gross Fuss regiment, actually went into combat wearing those style of uniforms. With the dark blue, with the smooth buttons right here. They went into war. They went into combat wearing those uniforms at the onset of war. Like, that's what they looked like. They just wore the old style, Franco-Prussian war style uniform, but the modernized one from 1904. Yeah. It's like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, talk about standing out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
So it's about time for me to be in the stream. I got a couple things to attend to.
Yeah.
I set aside a time block just to be able to do this real quick. So
yeah, and it's good we were able to do it because last time Instagram doesn't keep it does keep it up forever now. They finally figured. I like the IGTV one, the Instagram TV or videos. I like it, but I also don't sometimes.
Yeah, the way that they do it is just a little bit problematic.
There's like a stream on mine where I do a weird face like this. Because when I'm nervous, I always do that. That's like one of the main faces I do. Next to like a weird smiley face or like this. There's a photo of me on Facebook of me doing that. I'll probably post it in Discord if people want to see it. If people really want to see it, thumbs up now. 5 seconds.
The stream is actually a little bit delayed for them, so they'll get that after the stream actually ends.
Damn it. Right. Well, it's good finally to do this.
Yep. I've got a couple more streams coming up over the next few weeks. Got a couple new guests. Alex Eastman is going to be one of them. There's a couple others that I'm really excited to talk about. I'm going to be talking to a historian. I'm going to have a historian on the stream, and we're going to be talking about the Eastern Front during World War One and the experiences of the soldiers there. So that'll be pretty cool. But yeah, I'm glad to have you. Glad to have you on the episode 2 finally, after it being delayed so long.
I was the original episode 1. Remember that?
You were the original, but it failed.
I was the one who sprouted this idea.
We had everything set up, we had it tested, everything, and then we went to execute, and it did not work.
Because I did not know how to I did not know. In my defense, I did not know how webcams work. Anyway, did you say Alex Eastman's the next stream thing?
Hopefully, he will be one of the next ones. He'll either be the next one or the one after that. So,
who's the one after? Who will be the other one?
The historian, and then shortly after that, probably the Unraveled Angel, and then
Henry Steele. Henry.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then hopefully shortly after that, I'll have Uniform Collector. He'll be on too.
Oh, the Scottish guy.
Yep. Yeah. So those are future guests. Hoping to be able to get them all in before September. So thank you all for joining the live stream, and thank you for coming on as a guest. You're welcome.
I'm always welcome to join them.
Just crash the party, just like my house is on fire, but I'm here.
Send me a link. Send me a link next time.
Just join in for 5 seconds and scream and leave.
No, just point the gun. Say that again, but slowly.
All right. Well, I'll catch you guys later. Keep keep on the lookout for new videos and all that. I'll be coming out soon. Yeah. And go ahead and give out your YouTube name and Instagram channel for those who may not be following you or subscribed.
I'm George De Younger now. Been 7 names. Maybe next one will be the Yorkshire Historian, but that won't last for long because I'm moving to Kent.